Just heard there some U.S. officials, according to Martha Raddatz, believe that a deal may be in the United States' interest. Do you think that's something your son is open to?
I can tell you that I'm not open to it, and that's what I'll share with my son in terms of a plea deal. At this
You're not
point,
open to it?
Not open to it. At this point, what I would like is for this to be vetted in open court for the American people to have all of the facts. What I've seen is much political theater. I was disappointed in the President's press conference. I believe that's driven by his clear understanding that the American people are absolutely unhappy with what they've learned and that more is going to be forthcoming. So again, and I believe much of what he suggested is superficial. We can go over that point by point if you would like. But a deal, the only deal will be true justice. You know, justice should be the goal of our government, and is also the goal of a civil society.
Those are the words of James Madison. If I could make these points, George. Number one, we now have a date for visiting Moscow.
You're going to Moscow now. You have a visa from the Russians.
We have visas. We have a date, which we won't disclose right now because of the frenzy. Very soon, and we intend to visit with Edward and suggest criminal defense attorneys who've got experience in Espionage Act prosecutions. There have only been 10 in over 100 years. We think also it's especially important to go back to what President Obama said about Edward not being a patriot. It was the voice of the American Revolution, Thomas Paine, who defined a patriot as someone who saves his country from his government. And we also heard about all these alleged disasters that would ensue to the United States because of what Edward has done. Let's go back to the Bradley Manning case. When it came to the damage phase, the United States conceded not one person has been injured, impaired because of what Bradley Manning disclosed.
What was your reaction when you heard the President say that your son's not a patriot?
I would say, again, I think he was put in a tough spot. There were many questions that have been asked at that press conference that were not. I would have liked to have seen them ask about the DEA's Special Operation Division, many other things, his treatment of whistleblowers. But in terms of him characterizing my son as a patriot, or others like Peter King, who characterizes him as a traitor, what I would say is that my son has spoken the truth. He has sacrificed more than either the President of the United States or Peter King have ever in their political careers or their American lives. So how they choose to characterize him really doesn't carry much weight with me. But it sounds like
you say you're not open to a deal, but you are. It does sound like you're going to encourage your son to come back here and face trial?
I think, George, I can add it because I wrote a letter with Juan to the Attorney General of the United States saying we'd like to discuss conditions that would make it
right, you said no pretrial detention, no gag order, and he would choose the venue.
No. At a venue that was impartial because of the history of the Eastern District of Virginia being a graveyard for defendants. But those, George, were not stated as ultimatums. They were subjects for discussion. With non-circumvention clauses in there, just because we understand we can't dictate what the Department of Justice does.
As a father, you want your son to come home.
As a father, I want my son to come home if I believe that the justice system that we should be afforded as Americans is going to be applied correctly. At this point, when you consider many of the statements made by our leaders in Congress, they are absolutely irresponsible and inconsistent with our system of justice. They have poisoned the well, so to speak, in terms of a potential jury pool. Where my son chooses to live the rest of his life is going to be his decision. But I would like at some point in time for him to be able to come back to the U.S., whether he's going to live the rest of his life here or not, and face this, because I believe that the truth will shine through. It's clear that the American people, regardless of what laws have been passed by Congress.
I was going to say, it does appear that he broke the law.
No, George, that's simply irresponsible to suggest before a trial someone has broken the law. And they